those ins and outs I had to find from other sources. And once I did, it was, again, pulling it all together. Like, there's modules, there's different programs you can get into. Goldman Sachs has an amazing program. So I was just grasping for straws. Like, please teach me sales. Please teach me how to build a better business plan. Please teach me what systems and software do you guys use to manage this, and that. And I was learning that after I literally had squandered all my money away just to survive and to keep the business afloat.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm bringing it all back in. You go from being an attorney, amazing job. You walk away from that, God is opening up doors in the fashion world for you. Yeah. Miracles are happening. God, what are you doing? Amazing opportunities. You invest $25,000 for a business coach, but you were missing the little innuendos that you needed to be able to make that plan work.
Right.
So you lose everything.
Everything. I mean, it got to the point to where I was selling everything out of my house. I was going to pawn shops. I sold my TV. I was selling everything I could, my handbags. So I didn't care about the TV. I did care about my bags.
That's honest.
I was selling my bags, laptops, iPads, whatever, just to try to make rent and trying to figure it out. And I was just literally going in the house and just watching things just disappear right before my eyes, and having to still wake up every day and deliver and perform for clients, them not really knowing what was going on. And it was just a very, 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 very hard thing to do. And I started to get behind on rent. The car payment started to get behind. And I knew at one point I was going to walk outside that front door and the car was going to be gone.
Did that happen?
This very car that I wanted so bad as an attorney. Yeah. And one day I walked out and the BMW was gone. And I stood there and I was like, all right, well, you have 4 meetings today, Leah. How are you going to get there? So walked back into the apartment and Googled how to take public transportation. And that's what I did. Walked a mile to the bus stop every day in this Texas heat. And I got it done and had to do that for a year. And no one knew that I did not have a vehicle at all.
Welcome to The Dash. You know, The Dash is that tiny line between your life start date and end date. It's your story, the chapters in your book, your journey. Get ready for real conversations with real people telling real stories about the realities of failure, setbacks, and success. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go. We're rolling. Let's go. The Dash in 3, 2, 1.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Dash Podcast. Of course, we have another amazing episode for you. But first, I want to thank you guys for tuning in and supporting. Please, please, please do not forget to share this with your friends. Tell the people in your family, like, go watch the Dash, and tell them to subscribe. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do your girl a favor and subscribe, okay? Like, please, please, please. Thank you, thank you. Our next guest has an amazing story. I just get a chance to meet some really, really dope people. And I invited her here because, you know, we always use the saying, everything that glitter ain't gold. And sometimes we just do not believe it. And she's here to share her story. I want to read her titles because she's amazing. She's a 2-time Emmy winner. Wow. A CEO of Think3 Media. She is a healer. We'll get into that as well. She does a lot of cool stuff. But you guys give it up for Leah Frazier. Hey, girl.
Hey, Jade.
Leah, thank you so much for being here with me.
I'm honored that you're gonna have me. You have a power list.
Oh, girl. No, I mean, I feel like you're a part of the power list. I feel like, here's the thing. I feel like everybody has a story to tell. And so oftentimes, I say it probably on every episode, we only see the highlights of people's lives when we're on Instagram and social media and, and so it can be very discouraging, even for somebody like me, because I'm like, dang, I've been working really hard, and why is this not going, you know what I mean? And so I love for people to come in and share their stories because it just encourages people out there that are feeling discouraged.
Right.
So let's start with Think3 Media first. Is it a public relations company?
Yes. At first, I was that entrepreneur trying to do it all. Oh, we do social media, we do marketing, branding, logos, websites. No.
Okay.
So recently, I would say the pandemic really had me hone in on what's the one thing that we do and we deliver well, and that's definitely public relations and communications. So that's storytelling, finding your message, and then having folks like you in the media to tell that story and bring that brand awareness.
Okay, so that was a lot of fancy terms. I'm going to be honest.
I love that.
Tell everybody why they would need a PR person like you. Because I think that is not a clear understanding of why people would need PR. Okay, so why would somebody need PR?
Well, first off, Jay, most people get PR and marketing very confused. They try to interchange it, blame sales on your publicist. Do not do that. That is marketing. But they do work very well together. So I like to tell people that marketing is more of you're building a strategy as to how am I bringing in a lead or attracting a customer or even a consumer, and then I'm turning them into my customer where that money exchanges hands. That's having an actual marketing process.
Okay.
What your publicist does is more of we're building campaigns and building awareness for your public image. So we may be that first thing that people see. Maybe you go on TV, they hear you on the radio, they see you in a magazine, and they're that first impression that they get of your brand. And then your marketing process is what turns them into your customer. Okay. So people try to think, I'm going to hire a publicist for my event, and then they get ticked off because they didn't sell enough tickets. Well, there was a kink with your marketing, most likely, not necessarily with your publicist who probably did publicize your event. So there is a difference.
I'm glad you explained that because, yes, if I want the public to know about my event or about my brand, I'm thinking publicist because you're going to publicize. But so I'm glad you got it. Yeah, but it ain't the truth. Y'all get you a marketing team also as well. Okay. So you're very successful. You've worked with some really big names and you're so young. And this is what's great. So, I mean, I do have to have you name drop a little bit for the ones that would allow you, but I want you to tell us some of the people you've worked with and some of the brands that you've worked with.
This is so hard. Well, I've done PR for Fashion Group International of Dallas, so that brings in some of the top fashion designers in the industry. Just recently, I helped with a public relations campaign for Pierre Cardin, which is, if you know anything about veteran and legacy fashion, I couldn't even believe that I was working on a brand that my mom was trying to put me on as a kid.
Yeah.
I helped with interviews here in Dallas with Fern Malice, who was the creator of New York Fashion Week. So again, just sitting and having conversations with her, and she's talking about, oh yeah, I'm going to go have coffee with Ashley Graham next week, and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm working with you. Different nonprofit organizations. So right now I'm working on a big gala for Big Thought. So I love to give back and also be involved with that. And then last year for the city of Dallas with Big D Reads, which was huge, because that campaign brought back a book that was banned in our city since the 80s, I believe. And it talked about why our city is racially the way that it is. Mm-hmm. And so that was huge. That was in partnership with D Magazine, Amazon, the Dallas Mavericks were involved. And so there was a lot of big players in that. And to be just like this little bitty, Black-owned PR agency, for me to get that call and for them to say, like, we want to give that money to you, I still can't believe that I was a part of that. So I've done a lot of things. I've worked with Neiman Marcus. I've worked on Vogue influencer campaigns. I've represented designers at New York Fashion Week. Shout out to Junie. So it's just been a beautiful, beautiful journey.
How did you get here? Like, how does a Black woman become a PR? Like, you have not just a PR agent, you own your own company. Was this always on the horizon, or did you have something else that you wanted to do?
No.
Oh, okay. That's so honest.
I spent a lot of money in law school.
That's right. Y'all, I keep forgetting. Oh, my God. Because I know, Leah, I forgot you're an attorney.
I'm still paying those loans, girl.
Oh, my God. Okay, so let's go back. So where are you originally from?
I'm from here.
So you're originally from Dallas. Mm-hmm. You end up going to law school because you were going to be like...
I was a criminal justice major, so I really thought I was going to be a cop. I took the civil service exam. I passed it. So I played basketball in New York for 4 years. I was on scholarship. and I was a criminal justice major. I was supposed to be a cop. I took the exam. I was going to be a New York State trooper. Like, that was the idea. But there were so many applicants that year that they were like, it's going to take you 2 years to get to the next phase. And I'm like, well, what the heck am I supposed to do with myself for 2 years? I guess I'll move back. And one of my professors was like, you should consider going to law school. Like, when we had our criminal law class, like, you were killing it, like Law and Order. And I'm like, guess I'll go to law school. And so
oh my gosh, I guess I'll go. Okay.
So when I applied, it was so late. I only got into like 3 schools maybe, and one was Texas Wesleyan at the time in Fort Worth. And so I was like, I guess I'm doing this. And sure enough, I started law school, loved it. And 2 years later, here comes the Buffalo State Police. Like, we're ready for you to go on to the physical part of your examination.
No.
And I'm like, I'm not going to be a cop. I guess I'm going to be a lawyer. So that's kind of how that came about.
So then you became what kind of lawyer?
I went into private practice. I was a bankruptcy lawyer. So I represented the banks, your Wells Fargo's, your Bank of America, Countrywide at the time, PNC, HSBC, all of them. And I was in the mortgage and default division. So, well, okay, so people would say that.
Okay.
And people would get ticked at me, especially our people, when they would come into court. And they was
I
like,
had some foreclosures in my family before.
But
so.
listen, so I don't know if I should be saying this, but I would try to spit game. Like, because most of the time they were pro bono representing themselves, and I knew what the banks were looking for. So, and I wanted to keep people in their homes. We never wanted the homes back because we lost money. And you know this, you're in real estate. So I would pull them off to the side. Now, look, when we get here in front of this judge, because I knew all the judges, do not say this, and that. Now, 80% of our people loved it. Thanks. Dapped it up. We worked something out. But the 20% that were just ticked because here's the Black woman that they presumed was trying to put them out of their house. They just went up there and said whatever they wanted, and then I couldn't save them.
Right.
You know? But it was a great career. I did that for 7 years, Jay, and I loved it because I learned negotiation, how to analyze, and all of those things I carried over into my current position.
Okay. And so how do you go from being an attorney to PR?
None of this will ever make sense.
No, but life doesn't. And that's what I am. Look, I felt like I knew from God, but it has just been confirmed to me. Every time I do an interview, I'm like, God just keeps confirming that your next does not necessarily look like where you started.
The dash.
Yeah,
and
it's the dash.
I have multiple dashes.
Yes. Okay. That's what it's all about. So how do you make that transition?
Okay. So remember when I said I thought I was going one way during college and it was like, 2 years, there was the dash, and then I ended up going somewhere else. So this is just going to be a recurrent theme. But while I was an attorney, I moved to Houston. So right after, actually before I passed the bar, the firm hired me and was like, we don't even care. Just come work for us. And I would say probably a couple of months in, I started just having dreams, and it was all about fashion. And I've always loved to spend money and look good with clothes and bags. So that has been me since high school. And so as an attorney, I kind of carried that same thing, always had the fly suits, good shoes. And so I thought I was just dreaming it just because I was making good money.
Yeah.
Or I was watching a show on Bravo, Rachel Zoe Project, and I just loved her role as a stylist. And so those dreams started filtering in, and I'm like, why am I having these dreams? And it wouldn't go away. And so finally, I told God, I was like, if you could make this just stop, I will do whatever you're trying to tell me to do, whatever this is. So I started looking into styling, personal shopping. And I was like, let me just do this for women like me. The attorneys in the office were always in my office. They're like, it's like a fashion show every day. What is Leah wearing?
I love it.
And I would lie about where I got the stuff because I didn't want them coming in wearing the same thing. But yeah, I took a certified personal shopper program. I thought it was going to be a hobby. And as luck would have it, as soon as I started it, it blew up. It turned into shopping for the women at the firm, shopping for their husbands, organizing their closets, doing my own website, starting a fashion blog, which then morphed and this was all very quick. This was all within months of each other. After I started the blog, there was an opening for a fashion editor position for the Houston Examiner. I applied for it. They picked me up immediately. So then I become this fashion journalist in Houston, which someone reads my article here in Dallas and says, I have a client in Houston that needs somebody to go on TV to talk about fashion, and you're the only person we can find. And I'm like, how is that?
Yeah.
There's the Houston Chronicle, and you found me. And they put me on TV, and that started my TV journey. So way back in 2009, they put me on TV. And I'm hiding this from the law firm because everything is happening so quickly. And I realized that God was in control and that all he needed me to do was just say yes. And he was just literally laying out the steps. And all I had to do was just walk through. It wasn't as hard. And everybody kept saying, like, there's people that spent 20 years to get to where you're at. And you're getting it in months. Like, this is insane. And I'm just having fun. Like, I'm shopping and I'm going to all the fashion shows and all I got to do is write about it. Okay, cool. And I had a dream to go to New York Fashion Week. I was at New York Fashion Week within 4 years as a fashion editor for 2 major websites. And I'm walking into the fashion show. Like, how did I get here? I'm passing Whoopi Goldberg. And I'm like, how am I at this show when 4 years ago I'm on my couch just dreaming about owning some Louboutins,
Yeah.
And here I am. I get an invitation. I'm meeting the designers. They want to meet me for whatever reason, and I can't wrap my head around it, Jade. Yeah. And at a certain point, I had to choose. Like, am I going to go in the direction of the momentum of the thing that seems too good to be true, too easy, something that I love, or am I going to stay comfortable as an attorney? I'm making great money. I just bought a BMW. Am I going to stay comfortable and also go in the direction that makes sense for everybody else? Because you went to law school, you racked up 6 figures in debt, and that makes sense.
This right here is the pinnacle for me. This is the point. This is part of your dash that I want to make sure people hear. There are so many people out there that went to school for something. There are so many people out there whose parents told them from the time they were little, you're going to be this, you're going to be that. And we live into what other people tell us we're supposed to be, what our degree has told us we're supposed to be, just the way life has aligned for us. And we're lacking the satisfaction or the fullness because sometimes God is telling us there is more.
Yeah.
And it does not look anything like that. Everything that you're saying does not make sense. You're an attorney, but you're being pulled into the fashion world. An attorney making great money.
You couldn't, literally, by the time I left, I was in-house counsel. I was probably one of the youngest attorneys to go in-house. And and any attorneys out there know, once you go in-house, you don't leave because it's cushy, it's nice, it's comfortable, it's secure. I wasn't even in court anymore. I was managing a group of law firms. I was in-house at a bank, and my job was just to manage a group of law firms in a certain region of the U.S. I just did conference calls all day and oh, you're going to file that? Approved. It was the easiest 6-figure job that you could possibly get. And I said, peace. And no one leaves in-house. And I left in-house. And I'll tell you the other thing, Jade, is I didn't look like the person that was supposed to be the fashion person. I'm just this plain Jane, natural, you know what I mean? I love clothes. I could put an outfit together good, but I wasn't what looked like what it was supposed to look like. And I felt like God was using me as a testament for someone else to say, you're going to be the one to break down those barriers, even though everybody else may not believe it or see it. And he was using me for that, which I thought was crazy because there was people online. When I would post that I was at Neiman Marcus, I would leave the law firm and go to the Neiman Marcus show, and I would post. And I remember this guy went online and he took my picture and said, look at this. She thinks she's, in fashion, and would you trust this person with, whatever. And I just remember doubting myself. Wow, how can people be so cruel? I'm trying to figure this out. You're looking at a picture of a woman that worked from 7 a.m. to 5 and went all the way to the Houston Galleria Mall just to make this show. Of course I look tired. Of course I don't look the part, and I still remember that to this day, and I still have the comment up on the Facebook picture because it's just a reminder to me. But I didn't look like where God was taking me.
So obviously that was very discouraging when you saw that.
Yeah.
Because
no one believed in me.
Did it make you doubt?
No.
Really?
No. I'm not going to say it wasn't a dig where I was like, dang, that hurt, because when you're going in a new direction, it's scary.
Yeah.
And I had self-doubts like, this is crazy. I'm an attorney. now I'm in fashion, and these people that I'm networking with, they have degrees, they went to FIT, they know the lingo. I just have a passion about it, and I'm getting things that they have coveted for years, and I felt a little guilty about that. But I didn't let his comment deter me because, like I said, everything was happening so fast. I knew it was God. Mm-hmm. I could not take credit for that. And so I just had to but I'm going to leave it there as a reminder, and I'm just going to keep doing my business.
Okay, so you go from a very extremely successful attorney. You walk away. God is opening up these crazy doors for you in fashion. I want to get to the next part of your dash. One thing about Leah, I will say, I'm here in Dallas. Leah has always been that mover and shaker. Like every time you see Leah, she's always connected, and not just connected to I'm talking to all races. Like you are one of those that can fit anywhere, and you have clientele that is like it's what is the word I'm looking for? I can't pull it. It's diverse. It's diverse. You have a very diverse clientele.
Yes.
Which is a beautiful thing. But there's a part of your journey that people would be very surprised to know about. And it goes back to how I started the podcast today by saying that everything that glitters is not gold. And a lot of times we do hit these rough patches, and those rough patches can be some of the most lonely places because we're afraid to share them. So I'm kind of putting you on the spot. But I think people need to hear the part of your journey that wasn't so pretty, because we've been talking about the pretty. You go from great
glamorous,
to
darling.
great. Yeah, everything is glamorous. You go from good to great. Like everything is just like you're hitting on all cylinders. And then what happens?
I left my great job, and
This is you leaving the attorney job.
Yeah, I turned it in. God had already given me the blueprint and said, okay, after this, I want you to leave, and I want you to go straight into your entrepreneurship journey. And I was so scared. I took a 2-month temporary attorney gig in DC just to make a little extra money, because I was just so scared. And I was so miserable. And it was just kind of like, okay, God, when this is over, I'm definitely leaving, because that was just so bad. And I took the leap of faith. I ended up, at the time, I was in the process of buying a house. And when you work for a bank, they have programs for employees. So they were literally handing me the house. And I took that money and I hired a business coach. And I cried in the car because I really wanted the house. I loved my vehicle, but I needed the coach to help me figure out the business plan. And even with that, Jade, 2 years in, I ended up losing everything because I didn't know how to manage clients. I didn't know how to ask for what I was worth. I didn't know how to structure my business. And when I say...
Ooh, okay, hold on. We got to pause. We have to pause. Okay, so I'm going to make sure...
slumped in the chair.
Lord have mercy. This is so... Okay, I just want to make sure that people understand this. You're supposed to buy a house. Mm-hmm. Instead of buying the house, mm-hmm. you take that money, invest in a business coach.
And when I say it was hefty, it was like the down payment. I took the entire down payment, everything that I saved, and I gave it to that business coach.
Just go ahead and tell us the amount. Don't be ashamed.
$25,000.
$25,000
mm-hmm.
to invest into this business coach.
Mm-hmm.
You learn everything you can from this business coach. Do you feel?
Yeah, she taught me how to make my money back like that.
Okay, so
it was well worth it.
So was it after the business coach that you lost everything, or before?
It was after, because I still didn't. She taught me the plan. Like, here's the plan. It was more of like, here's how you're going to move and shake. But the ins and outs of managing the business, that's not what she was there for.
Okay. So I just want to make sure I have this right. Instead of buying this dream home that you wanted, mm-hmm. you take the $25,000, you invest in a business coach. She mm-hmm. gives you the plan. Yeah. Like a plan unbelievable that is probably still helping you to be successful to this day.
Yeah, she says it's a 7-figure plan. I'm still waiting on 7 figures.
It's
working.
Yes,
it's working.
But there were so many other things that you needed to learn. There's so much in this. So number one, we can't always just stop at the one, right? There's so much more, many more layers to this. But you said something. You also said she didn't teach you how to manage clients. Mm-mm. She did not teach you how to charge what you were worth.
No systems. I didn't have systems in place or processes. Intake was kind of funky. It was almost like it's okay to hustle, but sometimes you gotta grow and mature into a business owner, learning sales, actually having a revenue plan for each year. I wasn't doing that. I was kind of just flying by the seat of my pants and like, oh, thank you for giving me money. That's how I was operating my business. Like, oh, just thank you. And I was taking on any old client.
I think that is what most of us are doing. I think that that's what I'm doing right now. Like, I don't know how to properly run a business, right? I know how to manage money, but I don't know how to properly run a business. Where are you supposed to learn that?
Then there's other programs, right? So then I started looking at, once everything just got really out of hand, the Small Business Administration had programs, here locally in Dallas, you have the Dallas Entrepreneur Center. So I just started surrounding myself with networks of folks where I could get the training that I need at the price that I could afford at that moment in time. She was more of like a business coach as far as, I'm going to teach you what you could build from this, how you could get paid from this, and that. She was amazing at that, but it was like those ins and outs I had to find from other sources. And once I did, it was, again, pulling it all together. Like, there's modules, there's different programs you can get into. Goldman Sachs has an amazing program. So I was just grasping for straws. Like, please teach me sales. Please teach me how to build a better business plan. Please teach me, what systems and software do you guys use to manage this, and that? And I was learning that after I literally had squandered all my money away just to survive and to keep the business afloat.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm bringing it all back in. You go from being an attorney, amazing job. You walk away from that. God is opening up doors in the fashion world for you. Yeah. Miracles are happening. God, what are you doing? Amazing opportunities. You invest $25,000 for a business coach, but you were missing the little innuendos that you needed to be able to make that plan work.
Right.
So you lose everything.
Everything. I mean, it got to the point to where I was selling everything out of my house. I was going to pawn shops. I sold my TV. I was selling everything I could, my handbags. So I didn't care about the TV. I did care about my bags.
That's honest.
I was selling my bags, laptops, iPads, whatever, just to try to make rent and trying to figure it out. And I was just literally going in the house and just watching things just disappear right before my eyes, and having to still wake up every day and deliver and perform for clients, them not really knowing what was going on. And that it was just a very, 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 very hard thing to do. And I started to get behind on rent. The car payment started to get behind. And I knew at one point I was going to walk outside that front door and the car was going to be gone.
Did that happen?
This very car that I wanted so bad as an attorney. Yeah. And one day I walked out and the BMW was gone. And I stood there and I was like, all right, well, you have 4 meetings today, Leah. How you going to get there? Walked back into the apartment and Googled how to take public transportation. And that's what I did. Walked a mile to the bus stop every day in this Texas heat. And I got it done and had to do that for a year. And no one knew that I did not have a vehicle at all.
So you went from being an attorney, purchasing your dream BMW, to literally walking outside one day, having no transportation, having to Google how to take public transportation.
And how to stop the bus.
Oh my God. Because if you've never done it, you wouldn't know. So you rode the bus for a year.
I rode the bus.
On a Thursday, you had your BMW. Friday, you were taking the bus for the next year.
Yep. I was Googling everything, was trying to figure it out, downloaded the app, was just trying to figure it out.
I say you are such a walking testimony, because I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But I think the story is that you figured it out. Like, you made a way out of like, you literally, truly said, because that is the part of the story where most people will quit. Most people will feel sorry for themselves. Most people will go in the house and cry and be like, I'm giving myself permission to go through this. And you said, no, I have meetings. Like, this cannot stop. And you literally, how did you, I just need to understand, what was it inside of you? How the heck did you keep going?
I literally would come back in the apartment and just have conversations with God. I'm not going to say I didn't cry. I cried. I was on my knees. I was like, you got me out here looking crazy. And I would just have these conversations. I was journaling. But I was so convicted in everything that he had me doing. I was convinced that there was a lesson. I was like, you're bringing me down for a reason. Like you're stripping me because you're making me new, but I didn't know in what way. And then after I saw that in myself, I was like, dang, I got some grit, to Google, and I'm still getting to these meetings, and it's hot out here, and I dress very eclectically. So I'm walking a mile in like all African print. And, even the bus drivers were like, we love picking you up every morning because we try to see what you coming up here looking like, And so even in statements like that, I was like, man, God's using me for joy in some kind of way,
I don't want to keep like pounding on this, but was there ever a moment, did you ever feel like embarrassed, or I hope my clients don't see me, or was there shame? Was there like what I need to understand, because I need to understand how you like, oh my gosh, you overcame so much. Like, I'm just like,
I think at first there was a level of embarrassment because people in the community saw me one way and I was struggling. And when I was struggling so bad.
Leah, when you told me this story, when Leah told me this story, like it broke my heart in the aspect of like, I'm seeing Leah during these times.
Yeah. I'm at the parties with y'all. I'm at the galas. I'm dressed to the nines, but I probably spent the last $5 to pull it all together to make it, to support the client or to be at the event because it was leading me to the next, But yeah, I was there. I was around you guys. I was doing the thing, and I'm struggling coming home and getting the notices on my door. Like, okay, the car is gone. Now I'm about to not have anywhere to live. And just waking up every day, just believing that God really has me in this thing for a plan and purpose. I really did not think that he brought me that far to let me go. I was very convinced that there was a lesson, but I had to learn it quick. And I just, to your point, like I wasn't human. I was very embarrassed. I didn't want my clients to know. However, I really tried to find the beauty and the joy in the little things. So I don't know if maybe there was a little bit of mental escapism, if you will. Like if you go through something traumatic, you kind of compartmentalize. And I'm not a therapist, but I could just say I just kind of pushed it aside. And I just tried to find happiness in some sort of way. So I would always dress up. Here I am on the street, at the bus stop. I would try to dress up. If I was on the bus and I saw someone in need, even if it was $1 or a penny or a nickel or whatever I had, I would give them my everything. Or if I had food, I would give it to the homeless person on the bus. I would find ways to bless others, even though I didn't feel so blessed myself. Even just taking the train or the bus and just trying to figure everything out, I saw it as, oh, well, this is a better way for me to get to know my city. So I was just trying to find the little things, Jade. So I wasn't really focused on the negative so much. I just pushed it away because I knew I had a job to do and I had people who depended on me. And it wasn't about me at the end of the day. As much as I wanted to sit on that floor and cry and think that it was, I knew that there was something bigger and I had to believe for bigger in order to get out of it. And I really feel like was the key.
Why do you think you didn't share it with anybody so like somebody could help you, empathize with you, encourage you? Like, because it seems like you were doing it alone.
My family asked the same thing. I didn't tell them until it was like at the point where I went to court and I got evicted. And my mom's
did
like,
you get evicted?
Yeah, I got evicted. And I'll tell you something, Jade. So you talk about embarrassment. I wasn't really embarrassed before all of that. It was just life is happening to me. I showed up in court because remember I was a bankruptcy attorney.
Leah,
okay?
I am just over here like my mind is blown.
I'm a bankruptcy attorney that represented banks and, blah, blah, blah. And there was a firm that we would often go against or maybe we were affiliated with. And there was an attorney there representing a client or doing an eviction that was that I kind of knew from my attorney days that was present in the court. And when I walked in, I was like, this is crazy. This fellow attorney is about to see me get evicted out of my home. Like, this is insane. So in that moment, I did have shame and embarrassment, because I'm like, how did I come so low, after I worked so hard? But luckily they didn't go back. They didn't tell everybody. But yeah, it was kind of like, dang, really? This is how this happens? So when I went to court, even with the apartment manager, when I got evicted, we hugged each other. And the judge was like, why are y'all hugging each other? He's like, I've been justice of the peace for how many years, and I've never seen the apartment manager hug the resident that they're evicting. And she says, because I've never seen somebody work as hard as this woman. She said, I did everything I could. I saw her grinding. I saw her walking. I saw her doing everything she could, and it just didn't work out. And she's like, I know she's going to be successful. And we just hugged each other, because I knew she didn't want it either. And I got really choked up. I cried. The judge cried. Everybody was crying, Jade. And it was hard. And God just it was like hit after hit. Then I leave the eviction hearing. I'm standing on the corner waiting for a dart. And I was like, let me go get a Diet Coke. There was like a taco place or whatever. And I'm standing on the corner and a car drives by. It's my best friend. I never told her any of that was going on. She's like, what are you doing out here on the corner? I was like, waiting for the bus. What are you doing? And she's like, girl, if you don't get your tail in this car. And I never told her I lost my car or anything. And she's like, where do you need to be? And she just gave me this look. It was a very unspoken, I got your back. I don't know what's going on with you, but I'm here for you. She dropped me off at home. And this is somebody that has a very successful business. And the way we live right now, Jade, the way we live right now on social media, and people want to tell everybody's business, she could have told everybody what was going on, and she didn't. And to this day, she never spoke on that. And we've just had a very unspoken understanding of a sisterhood. She's like, I saw my sister on the corner. I didn't need to know what was happening. I knew she needed my help. She took me home, and that was the end of the conversation. And
where is home at this time?
Home at that point was back to the apartment complex, because I had like several days to get all my things out. But it was a very unspoken thing. It was like, dang, I just got through the embarrassment of seeing the attorney, the embarrassment of the eviction order. And now I'm on the corner. All I want is a taco and a Coke. And here's my best friend driving by. And I think in that moment, God was telling me, like, it's okay to ask for help. Because you're trying to do everything by yourself. And there really are people that want you to succeed. And it's okay to ask for help. And it's okay to be lifted up and supported. Even in the unlikeliest of places. Unlikely. And I remember that to this day.
Whew. Lord.
Don't you do that, Jade.
Girl.
You know I'm a crybaby. I'm surprised I haven't cried today.
Did you ever doubt God during this time? Or were you ever angry with God?
I was angry the entire time. Like, how you got me out here looking raggedy. I was pissed. But I think, in my opinion, I think God wants us to be real. I don't think he wants us to have these fake conversations with him. I think he wants us to be real so he can show us who he truly is. So I'm mad at you because you told me to do this and I've lost everything. All right, I received that, daughter, but let me show you why. I rose out of that, Jade. I don't have attachment to material things. You know, I learned how to budget. I could be a good steward of my money, my finances, my talent. I came out of that a new person. He showed me what I was made of. Girl, you've lost everything. So if something comes tumbling down in business, you know, between you and I, we got this thing locked in. We gonna make it.
Yeah.
Those were the lessons I was supposed to learn. When you asked me, well, did you tell anybody? I didn't want anybody feeling sorry for me.
Yeah.
I didn't want that. People, I feel like there's certain people that want that type of attention. No, I just want you to look at me as a business owner. This girl's out here. She's doing her business. She's repping her clients to the fullest. My personal stuff is my personal stuff. It's none of your business, you know? And I wanted to keep it that way. But I did tell God, I had a pact with him. If you get me out of this, I promise I will never take credit for how you've built me up and brought me out. I will always let people know that it was you. And that was my pact. I never wanted to tell that side of the story, but I told him if you brought me out, that's what I would do. And he brought me out and I got everything back tenfold. Everything. And the numbers don't lie. The numbers don't lie. I'm like, if people want to see it, God was not playing. And he keeps piling on, keeps piling on, keeps piling on. I'm like, dang, thank you. Thank you.
So where are you now?
Now, child. God has restored everything. You know, I don't have much attachment to material things. So I thought, when I get everything back, I'm gonna get all my TVs back and all that. No, not really. You know, he's blessed my business so that I could bless others. I will say that I'm comfortable. And when he makes me uncomfortable, do I still get a little nervous because it was traumatizing? Absolutely.
Yeah. You're like, okay, God, I don't want to have that Job experience again. Like,
please, Lord, don't take me. I don't need that lesson again. Can we have a new lesson?
Yeah, exactly. I can only imagine. So let me see. Earlier, when I was reading part of, your intro, your bio, and you have your 2 Emmys, was that pre all of this?
When did the Emmys come in? The Emmys came when I was, did I have the car? Well, Jay, that's a great question. I have to think about that. Because there was a point in time where I didn't have the car. So I was doing rental cars and trying to shuffle around town and get everything through a rental vehicle. So the first Emmy was a project I did with Channel 8 where they called me 5 days before the project to pull everything together. And again, you're talking about a person taking public transportation and doing all of that. And you're like, you want me to do what? For how many people? But I pulled it all together. I didn't even know that we were getting submitted for an Emmy. They surprised me with that. Oh, okay, great. So I have to think on the timing of that. I don't remember, to be honest.
Well, it sounds like you already were not with the car, so you're having to shuffle all this, so it had to have been But that just goes to show, when I tell you, you are literally, it's like listening to, we hear the story all the time in the Bible about when Job lost everything and then everything was restored. And it's like, to hear this, because there are so many people that are out there right now that are struggling.
I know.
And so, and they want, so like they have the big dreams.
Yeah.
And it does seem impossible for them, right?
Yeah. I know, Jade.
And so this is just so encouraging to
You're gonna make me cry. I cannot stand you. Jesus.
Because my heart breaks for people that sometimes the circumstances just are not fair.
Yeah.
And they don't line up. And we have so many talented people, so many good people. And yeah, I'm going to be honest. A lot of times it seems like the good people get the short end of the stick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you have people out here that, and who are we to judge? Like, we can't tell God who to bless or who to, but your story is just, it just goes to show, like, it's not the end of the road for people. And there are people that feel hopeless. Like I say, in your situation, a lot of people would have just been like, it's just too much. Because sometimes life can feel like too much.
It was devastating. I had a journal that I kept that entire time. I rarely pull it out because if I do, it just breaks me down. It's still fresh for me, so it's still, I could say, like, re-traumatizing, so to speak, for me to think about it. So sometimes when I tell the story, oftentimes I feel cold, but it's because I've kind of compartmentalized it because it was so detrimental. And that was the only way for me to kind of shove it to another part of my brain, for me to operate at my fullest capacity, is almost to act like it wasn't happening at all. To find little ways to escape, to find little ways to find joy when everything at home was just falling apart, and believing in something that that literally only I could see, you know, believing that God had something for me, because my family was scared. And they would just flat out tell me, like, I am scared for you.
Why?
Because I'm the kid in the house that had, you know, Leah always has it together. Leah always had it together. Leah always took good care of her money. Anybody needed money, Leah always had it. So to see Leah struggling, especially if entrepreneurship is not necessarily understood, or sometimes I felt like they didn't really understand what I was doing or trying to build. So I was on this little island.
They telling you, go get a job, go.
Not just that, but they love you. They don't want to see you out there like that. They don't want to see you struggling. Jay, there were several times I was walking to the bus stop and I would see my mom going to work, or I would see my sister, because I had to move back in to get back on my feet. And I didn't want rides from them. I'm like, this is the path God's put me on. It's okay. I can walk while I see you.
You're better than me. I'm going to be like, can
you
you drop me off on your way?
It wasn't that far. It wasn't that far. I don't want people to think like, oh, they let you walk a couple miles. No, like literally I'm walking and like, you know, but it was okay. And I think now throughout that entire journey, like I know how strong I am. My family definitely knows. Leah's got it, you know, but they were scared because they love you and they don't want you out there like that. And but it's going to be okay.
What would you say to somebody who's probably in the position that you were in, feeling hopeless? Maybe they don't feel like they have the strength or the ability to compartmentalize or to almost create a fantasy world to not accept where they are. Maybe they're smack dab in the middle of it. And they're like, I don't know if I have another day left in me.
I would say the biggest thing that I learned in that journey was to ask for help, or to find like-minded people that understood. So like I said, my sister, my best friend that picked me up, she knew entrepreneurship. It was an unspoken, we had no words in that car, but she understood me and she was there to pick me up whenever I needed. And I feel like we all need support systems like that. And that was the moment that I knew I had to learn how to open up my mouth and say, to be honest, things aren't okay. I just got evicted. I just lost my car. I need help. I'm not giving up on this dream. How can we come together? So I think that's number one. Number two, and I believe this from the bottom of my heart, I don't believe that God gives us vision or drops things into our heart for them to just dwindle away. Mm-hmm. We're all here for a purpose. And we're all supposed to keep evolving in some shape, form, or fashion. So if he gives you something with it and it doesn't seem like it's not working out, maybe there's just a tweak that needs to be done, a pivot. Maybe there's someone else that can help you bring that to life. But I wouldn't give up on your dream. I just don't think that he gives us what he gives us for it to just dwindle away. Mm-hmm. And just keep going. Just keep going.
Ooh, Leah, thank you so much for sharing. And keep listening to things like this. There are some people that have nobody, right? So sometimes you have to find your tribe outside of family and friends, mm-hmm. right? There are literally people that have nobody that they can call. So you have to tune into, like, the podcast is free, right? So it's like hearing stories like this is like you just became a part of somebody's tribe by saying, by sharing your story. So now today, there is somebody out there that no longer feels lonely.
Yeah.
On this journey of life while their dash is being written.
And I think that's the key. You are not alone. We often think, I have this shame. I feel guilty, or I'm embarrassed that this happened to me. But there's so many other stories like mine. There's so many other entrepreneurs that were like, look, I charged up my last $9 on my credit card before things popped off. There's a book Damon John has, The Power of Broke. It is one of the most inspirational books ever.
The Power of Broke. Okay.
The Power of Broke, because it's like this person went and it was like their last blah, blah, blah. And finally their dream took off and now they're this multimillionaire. Not to say that's going to happen for everybody, but you are not alone. You're not on an island alone. And so to your point, finding inspirational stories like this, I always invite people to reach out to me because I'm not ashamed to tell my story. But I think there's also a level of burden that God wants us to place back on him, that we try to control so much. We try to control our futures. And I think in the layers of my story is always a level of surrender. So when I was Googling, like, how do I get there? It was me surrendering. Like, I don't know why you took the very thing that I worked so hard away from me, but I surrender it to you to know that you have something better for me. After all of this, you're going to take care of me because I'm doing what you put me on this earth to do. And I know you're not going to have me out here looking crazy. So I'm going to walk and I'm going to look cute, but I need you to, I need you to figure it out. And I never told you this, but probably 3 or 4 months after doing that consistently, and I never complained, I got a call randomly, this girl or an email say, hey, I want to meet with you. I'm with Lyft, blah, blah, blah. I go meet with her. We meet for coffee. And she was like, yeah, Lyft just wants to work with you on a campaign. And they said they would just give you $1,000 every month for you to they just want you to ride in Lyft. And I was like, well, like who recommended me or whatever? She's like, oh, I don't know. We were just looking you up and we thought you would be a great influencer for our campaign. And oh, by the way, every now and again, they'll drop some extra money on there because they want you to take Lyft XL or the luxury Lyft car. And I was like, well, look at God. So 3 or 4 months in, for months, I would say for about 5 months, I had a partnership with Lyft where if I were going to those events where I was afraid of people not knowing that I didn't have a vehicle, I could arrive in a black Suburban, you know what I mean? And I step out, they're like, oh, look at Leah. I felt like I was, old girl off of Devil Wears Prada. And I would put my shades on and I would hold my head high and no one had to know what was going on the back end.
Nobody knew.
Nobody knew.
No vehicle.
But he blessed me.
You had no home. And all you had was him.
All I had was him. And then I sold everything I had attached myself to. And that's it. It's literally, if you can just imagine me walking, it was just me and God. That entire time, it was just me and God.
Well, how can people get in contact with you?
Well,
oh Lord. Yes.
I respond to pretty much all DMs. So the Leah Frazier on all social media channels. But if you want to shoot me a message, think3media.com. You can contact me there or leahfrazier.com. And
I just want to put in a plug really fast. Now you do these amazing, you do the whole yoga, sound bath, like you've gotten trained on those things. So you pretty much have your own business. That's like a side hustle for you, but it's big. It's a really big deal.
It is blowing up.
Yeah. So tell everybody about that too, because I experienced my first sound bath with Leah, which was
so
such an amazing experience. I got to come back. There's so much more I want to do. So tell everybody how they can contact you on that side of the business.
Yes. So again, just surrendering to God. During the pandemic, was going through a state of depression after George Floyd, because I was trying to grieve what was going on in society for us as a culture, and didn't have the time to do it because on the business side, Think3 Media was going through the roof because people needed digital services. And so I didn't mentally have the time to process what was going on in our country with the pandemic, me not being able to be with my family. And so I was slowly sinking into a depression. And I had a meditation practice, but it wasn't where it is now. And I started meditating every single day. And when the studio opened back up, I was there faithfully every day. And they convinced me to teach, which then led me into learning sound because I have a music background. My dad was in a very famous R&B band and passed his music talent down to me. And
what band?
Do I really want to be talking about this? My dad played keyboards for Atlantic Star. So Secret Lovers and all of that.
Oh my
Big Mac commercials and Soul Train.
That's amazing.
He did all of that. Minister of music for a lot of churches here in Dallas. So he passed his musical talent down to me. And when I learned sound, started doing the sound baths. And then God moved me into, mindfulness certifications and somatics and breath work. And now I've built a practice out of it for us, though. Very specific practice for us. So you can find me, Leah Heals, HEALS.com. And again, because I believe that God did that for a reason, that business is flourishing at a rate that I can't keep up with right now, to be quite honest. I can't.
Leah, you're amazing. And you know that I say this genuinely. And I just can't thank you enough for, I know how private you are for being open and transparent today and sharing your story. That will really help so many, but really help them to survive.
I want Jade at the end, like, I feel like if God were to say, okay, Leah, tomorrow's it for you, I just want everybody to live the lives that they were designed to live. Or if you have something and it's really bugging you and you can't sleep at night, I just want you to try. I really want people to experience the joy and the passion of really being in alignment with who you were designed to be before they leave this earth. And so as many times I have to tell the story or I got to get people jacked up about how it can happen for you, that's all I want. And I genuinely mean that from the bottom of my heart. Because it is a pure joy that is unlike anything else. Anything else. And when you can really align yourself up with that, things will work out in your favor. It has no other choice but to. And you can manifest that life for yourself.
We cutting the tape right there. Boom. Thanks for the support. Make sure you subscribe to the Dash Podcast YouTube channel. Also, we're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and more. And feel free to share with some family and friends. Thanks, guys.